Hello, David Warner here speaking for Griffin's Clock Parts and Supplies. Today we're going to be talking about use of the Haas Laboratories split stake and pinion cutter. Now this is the model LPC-2. It also has companion wire that's available through Griffin's Parts, and it comes in several different sizes as well as different arrangements. I purchased my Haas tool back when David Morgan was president of the National Association of Watch and Clock Collectors, and I was on the board of directors with him. David talked me into this tool. It's probably been 25 years since I've gotten it, and I'll tell you what, it's an invaluable tool. It has saved me time and tools so often. Too many times people will try and cut pinion wire and destroy side cutters. These can't cut these wires like this without damage here. I've never had a problem using the Haas cutter. Okay, here's what we have to do first is we need to remove the broken pinion wire so that we can determine the size for replacement. I'm going to set this wheel aside, and it's best to use a digital or handheld micrometer so that we can find out exactly what we need. So here we are here, and we'll get a reading. So I've got my reading here. Now I've got to find a like size in my pinion wire back here. So we know what it's supposed to look like. So I'm going to drop that. We're at 45, it's a little large. 41, right on the money. So this is what we're going to use. Now that we've determined the size of the wire we need, we have to make a little bit of provision here for the wheel to receive that wire. So when you start off with a piece of pinion wire, you want to see if it'll go in. Of course, these ends are closed up. They are smaller than the opposite end, the receiving end. And remember, pinion wires, for the most part, are supposed to be loose to be able to roll. That's the magic about these little gears here, is they should be loose inside of their cages. So what I have to do is to get this in to the top up here, I have to broach open this end. So you take your broach or a drill bit and turn it until you get that open enough where you can get the wire to go right on in. Oops. Okay, brace myself. So it comes all the way through. Now we already know that it's going to fit down at the bottom down here. Just like this. It's going to be a little looser, which is fine. So the next stage is setting the length. We're going to start with a fresh cut on the end of our stock that we're going to cut from. So I need to determine which hole it fits in inside of here. It's this one here, and I only need to cut off a little bit. So I'm going to take my tool and set it to a minimal depth to control waste, tighten it up, bring this back over here, and I'm going to put this right on in and open this up so this falls down against the gauge on the inside. You can see it hitting in there. And once I get it to that point, I'm going to hold it and I'm going to squeeze. Now my piece of material will come out this end, and it'll have no flare on the end of its cut ends. So what we're going to do now is determine the actual length of the piece that it has to be. Okay, to determine that length, we're going to take our vernier and we're going to use the end of it to measure the distance, and we want to have it about halfway into the lower trundle and halfway into the cap. We don't want to have it protruding out of the cap. It's got to be able to turn freely. So once we set that distance there, we come back to our tool over here and we transfer that distance just like this to our tool where I've got it set right now, because the cutting actually occurs right in here. If you'll notice, what's stationary is the block on the inside. That's where the metal will be, and this is my gauge here to determine how long it'll be. So remember, we already cleaned up our end on our wire, so I'm going to stick this in here So it comes through, and sometimes you got to open it up to get it to go all the way through. And we have it up against our gauge now. And then I'm going to squeeze this tight. And here is my piece ready cut and ready for the wheel. Now, this piece is trimmed on both sides. It would go in either way into the wheel, which we've already opened the end up just enough to allow this to come in. So down it goes, all the way in, and down into the lower trundle itself. And you can see it right down inside of here. So that's that. But what I want to show is the piece that was on the end has a tiny flare from where it was cut from the wire supply company. So if I try to use this one and I put it in here, it won't go down any further than that, because you can see a shiny edge here. That's actually a flare from where the tool at the factory, which is not as fine as the Haas tool, left a little flare over the end of that. Okay, here we are for installation now on our wheel. We've got our pinions cut. There's 1 and 2 right there. So I'm going to come back down here, and I still have to open up the other hole, so I'm only going to do 1 on this wheel. And as you can tell, this is just out of my junk box here. So I'm going to take one of my pivots, and I'm going to put it into the hole that we already broached out, and we know it's going to fit in here. And that's going to go all the way down into the lower part of the gear. And I've got this in here, so I've got to close this part up. So how do we do that? We go back to our Haas split stake, and we figure out which one of these holes is going to best fit this brass plate and keep it steady. So I've already determined it's the 6th one here. So I'm going to put it in here, close the stake up, and so that the stake supports that, and I'm going to tighten this up over here. I'm going to come over to my vise here. I want to crush our wheel out to the side. And you can see where we are on which one has to be closed up. Now, I use several different tools. You can use whatever you want. But so as far as using tools to close the holes up that we're going to have to close up on the pinion gears, we have a staking set here that I use for clock repair, not watch repair, and a doming set. Actually, you can use anything you find convenient that'll make the proper mark to close these little holes up with. Now here I'm going to use one that's sort of a rounded small point. And I've already got my wheel mounted up in a hole here that supports it. You want to make sure you're not crushing your gear on the back side, so you can bring it in there and out a little bit. Now, we'll look for the hole that we made and we put our new pinion in, which is right here. And I'm going to come in with this, and I'm going to just give it a little punch with the brass to metal. So that it can't escape. Then to check it, we're going to take our wheel out. And we want to make sure that we still have movement here, which we do, but it can't escape the hole on either the upper or lower end. And you can see that it still rolls nicely. Okay, as far as wire selection goes, Griffin's Clocks offers a wide selection of pinion wire, and we only recommend using our wire products by Haas in this tool, so we don't damage the tool and we have perfect results every time. You can buy these selections from Griffin's Clock, and they're available in a number of sizes and 3 different assortments. Also, the staking set has 13 different hole sizes here, and these hole sizes ranging from 1/8 to a 1/2 inch in 1/32 increments increasing. There are 5 holes inside of here for your pinion cutting, so it doesn't have to be absolutely tight, and which we don't want. And if it's too loose, you go to the next one down. So I can't stress enough the versatility and the integrity of this tool. It's unlike anything else on the market. Again, it's going to save you damaging your side cutters. It's going to save you time with a stone on a lathe trying to cut pinion wire, and especially repeated lengths. It just is an amazing tool, and this has been in service for many, many years, and it's still like it was the day it was brand new. Just to repeat again, the pinion wire that we have here is available in 18 sizes from 20 thousandths to 59 thousandths. We have 3 assortments, PW1A, 2, and 3. There are different thicknesses inside of there. So if you need the size wire for clock repair, we're most likely going to have it. And a tool that can't be found anywhere else. Just the split stake on this is an amazing part of this tool. Where can you find one like this? I've never found another. It's versatile, it's built to last, and it's tested and true to the business. I hope you get one today and enjoy it for the rest of your life.